Jessica Morse just a couple days ago, and she for sure, she's taken the position with Gavin Newsom's administration and won't be running. So as of this moment, I am the only candidate running as a Democrat in this district. Not to say there may not be more, but at this very moment, I'm the one person who's running. And if I know anything, it's that if we are going to do anything for this district that we all care deeply about, we're going to have to work together to do this. And we're not only going to be able to have to work together as a group that's in this room, but it's going to take all the people we know, and not just our Democratic friends, and not just our progressive friends, everybody we know. So if you want to know about why and how I got into politics and why I'm here tonight before you, you have to know a little bit about me and who I am. So 11 years ago, I relocated from the Bay Area where I grew up to bring my sons to live in this district. We wanted a nice rural lifestyle, a place with good schools, a place where my sons could grow up and know something more than just concrete and asphalt and a busy place to live. So we made a conscious effort to move here. And we moved to Placerville 11 years ago, right before the Great Recession hit. And though that was a tragic situation, not just for a lot of people I knew in the area, probably here, I mean, it definitely took, my personal business took a huge hit. But it gave me the opportunity to get involved more in my sons' lives. And I took that opportunity. I started volunteering in the school. I was there every day. If they needed a parent to fill in the blank, I was there. I was working in the garden. I started a film program for the gifted and talented kids there because I'm a filmmaker by trade. And I got deeply involved in the lives of the kids in the school district. And I got to know the teachers and staff. I became somebody they could rely on. And I was proud to do that, and it was great to not only be a part of my son's life at school, but also to help out other people and other kids and families in the district. On February 2nd, 2011, a day I'll never forget, my friend, the principal of my son's elementary school, was shot during the school day by the janitor at his school and killed. The school was on lockdown. I didn't see my son for a good majority of the day. We didn't know what was going on. He didn't know what was going on. I lost a friend to gun violence. And I didn't think about it in the broader political sense. I thought about it in the very personal sense of what happens when you lose a friend. When you lose somebody who, at our school district, was the guy who stood out in front of the school every day and greeted every kid, knew them all by name, knew their families, who had told me 2 weeks before he was shot that his most proud thing about being a school principal where we were was that he was able to have kids of relative privilege and kids who had nothing in the same place and give them the same opportunity. His name was Sam LaCara, and he wasn't a political person by any stretch. And if he did vote, he probably voted Republican. But he thought of himself as somebody who gave opportunity to children. And that wasn't a political issue to him, it was just who he was. During that time, I was asked, as one of the parents who was deeply involved, to get involved in the process of finding a replacement for Sam. It was one of the hardest things I ever had to do. I had to sit in a room with other parents and teachers and staff and meet new people to replace this person who was a friend of ours and a friend of our kids. And we did that, and we found a good replacement who just recently actually won the AXA award, the Sam LaCara Administrator Award. So the principal we picked to replace Sam actually just won the award that was named in Sam's honor, which was a great moment for all of us in our community. Shortly thereafter, I had gotten to know the people in the school district, and they said, would you like to be a part of the school board? Now, I was always somebody who followed politics and in the broader sense of the word, right? I kind of knew what was going on, I knew issues, but I didn't think about the local part of politics, the nonpartisan part of politics, the part where you have a small discretionary budget and you have to get things done. But I said, you know, I would consider running for the school board. They said, there are 2 seats coming available. You seem like somebody who's involved. Why don't you run for one of those seats? And I thought about it, and I thought it was probably the best way I could come up with to honor the memory of my friend who I had lost. And so I did, and I won, and I've been on the school board ever since. And being on the school board is great. I mean, but what you learn on the school board is you learn about the problems of children and families. Problems that go beyond the school site, right? Problems that are function of what's going on in our society. In our school district, right, it varies from year to year, but we've had as many as 100 homeless students out of 1,300 kids. Let that sink in for a minute. And when I tell people in our community that, they don't believe me. They say, no, that's not possible. Where we live in Placerville. It's a nice little town. And I say, yes, but there's a lot of poverty. One of our 2 schools has a 70% free and reduced lunch rate. This is in a place where, by the way, the unemployment rate is 4.5%. So tell me for a second, how people can be employed, fully employed, and yet we have a 70% free and reduced lunch rate at our elementary school in town. That's a function of economic inequality. That's a function of low wages. So I started realizing, as a part of this, that really, when you have no representation at the highest level, at the federal level, all of that rolls right downhill to our towns and our communities. And that if something was going to get solved for these kids, it had to be solved at a higher level, upstream. We couldn't just wait and see what we could do in our town. We had to start looking at a higher level, and that's when I felt the call to higher office. And I don't think I need to repeat how bad our representation is for this room, but I mean, it bears repeating. And every day I get votes of his that are just truly awful. I mean, I don't think our Republican friends and neighbors realize just how radical our representative is, even compared to their fairly conservative values. I don't think they realize that he's against NATO, or he's against the Opioid Crisis Response Act, which was a 396-14 vote in the House and 99-1 in the Senate, where he was one of 14 people who thought, opioid crisis, huh? Yeah, I don't think the government has any business in that. Or what about the Violence Against Women Act, which he just voted against recently? This is a guy that if people knew his record better, they would find him to be the radical that he is. He is a borderline anarchist. He believes that no amount of government is right, except for 2 things, which he has proudly said in many times. I saw him say it in the town hall. There should be no cap on military spending. And clearly he sees no reason to ever stop cutting taxes for people who have everything. So last cycle, I'm sure everybody in this room, we had several good candidates as Democrats. And it was a very optimistic time for me. And I thought to myself, sitting on the sideline, like, one of these great candidates is going to take this guy down, right? This is our time. There's a blue wave. There's more activism and excitement in the Democratic Party than I've ever seen in the time I've lived here. Things are happening. And yet we came up short. And it was it's a tragic loss. Like, not just for the candidates who didn't win, but for us. And for our conservative neighbors who, by the way, are still suffering the same lack of representation that we all are. They just don't realize it. I know that we postcarded, we canvassed, we phone banked, we threw, events. We did everything we could to help elect a Democratic candidate in our district. And we still came up short. And then I thought, should we give up? Is this a project that we should just not take on? It's just not possible. We have too many Republicans and too many people who caucus with Republicans. Should just give up? And the answer is no. We need to look at down ballot races where we're winning. And as someone sitting at the top of the ticket, I'm going to support down ballot candidates. Because look, this is where the power is in every community. These are community leaders. We need to look at organizations like El Dorado Progressives, which I co-founded, which started with 8 of us having coffee, and this day has over 2,100 members in El Dorado County. A county where I thought I knew the probably 50 progressives in the entire county, and they were all my friends. And we realized we have over 2,100 people willing not to just say they're Democrats, but to say, I'm on the left side of the Democratic Party. We need to look at other races where Democrats overturned a Republican. And we need to take the lessons from those races and win. And one of the lessons we've got is that